We look at the Trump effect proper. Like I did mention, he said he was sworn in yesterday as the 47th president of the United States, and he came up with some of his policies already, a bold initiative to establish an external revenue service aimed at imposing tariffs and taxes on foreign nations, and of course, while enriching the America. That is one of his strategy. Of course, his agenda is usually clear: the American first. How is this going to impact on the other economy? Let's listen to Trump when he spoke about that policy yesterday.
Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources.
Well, that was Donald Trump there speaking about his policies of taxing foreign nations to enrich the Americans. How is he going to achieve that? We'll go into that conversation after this break. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Before we went to that break, we played for you a clip from yesterday's speech by Donald Trump, the 47th president of America, where he did say he's going to tax foreign nations to enrich the American citizen. I mean, continue on his policy from his first term as a president of the United States, taking the American first. There, a very good one that you say for Donald Trump. And of course, the American citizen will be glad to have him as the president. But let's go into what does his presidency mean for countries like Nigeria and, of course, the African at large. I have joining me via Zoom now from Abuja here to talk more about what Donald Trump presidency mean for Nigeria and indeed Africa. There, Malam Baba Yusuf is the strategist, policy advisor, and group CEO of Global Investment and Trading Company. Good morning, Malam Baba Yusuf.
For having me, Yusuf. It's good to be here.
All right. You listen to Donald Trump. He said he's going to tax foreign nations and reach the American citizen. How will he going to do that?
Yes, I heard the speech by President Donald Trump, expectedly so. I spoke about it in my column and my podcast. We're expecting this. Interestingly, Donald Trump, is not the normal politician. And then he has this nationalistic MAGA philosophy, make America great again. And he has in his vision the idea that he will, run America by taxing sovereign nations, Yusuf, by taxing them and sending tariffs to them. Basically, in his mind, as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump considers all the other countries around the world as, subnationals of the United States of America. You ask a valid question, how he's going to do that? And that is what we would like to see. We had a lot of things he wants to do that he said yesterday, but how he's going to do it in this day and time, it was what remains to be seen, because even during the days of Genghis Khan and Julius Caesar, it couldn't happen, but then we'll wait and see how his tariff strategy will play out. As far as I'm concerned, the days ahead will be very, interesting. Globally, countries will push back, and very soon he will smell the coffee and realize that he cannot just be taxing everybody and tariffing everybody so that Americans will have a free pass.
Indeed, talking about America not having a free pass. Let's see his policy with regards to, pumping more oil. He did say he's going to pump more shale gas into the market. As you know, America is the largest producer of shale gas in the world. And of course, he is not a fan of high oil prices. We're beginning to see the impact of Trump presidency on the global oil market. We saw a decline yesterday with Brent coming down to about, $79 from where it were. How much of impact do you think this is going to have for an oil-producing nation like Nigeria that's relied on crude oil for about 90% of its revenue?
Well, it is not new. If you recall, during his first administration, Donald Trump applied this quote unquote drill baby drill, concept of, ensuring there's a global glut of oil, which worked and scaled down the prices of oil globally. And he is going to do that now, trying to control the demand and supply side of oil and playing into the oil and gas politics. And of course, for countries like Nigeria and oil producing countries, it is a threat. If you look at it from this perspective, now moving away from the tariffs, that countries that are oil producing need to hedge and position. Of course, countries like Nigeria have been lagging behind. I expect to see us ramping up our economic diversification strategy, even though when we say the outcome or impact may be in the mid to long term, because the long-standing thing we needed to do, more sure-footed and purposely so. And it brings me back to our budget for 2025, Yusuf. The benchmark for crude that we use to project our revenue will definitely be impacted. You just mentioned the numbers now. So definitely for a country like Nigeria and other countries around the world, it will affect them in terms of the revenue. But then for those that have been future thinking or forward thinking, they would have hedged the potential outcome of Trump policies, because everybody knew that if Trump will win, these are the potential steps he's going to take. But having said that, the reality is here. Countries will need to hedge. Like I said, those that have taken the strategic position will just flow with it. And those that didn't, I think from yesterday, will have to go back to the drawing board. I expect Nigeria to do so, to review some of those numbers and targets so that they'll be more realistic. And then in the global scheme of things, the oil politics and other things, definitely this is a new variable that will play out. I definitely am very sure that most countries have planned for this and are waiting for it. On the other side, on the supply side, for those that are not oil producing also, is good news, because it's going to bring more supply, which will scale down prices, for those that are buying on the buying side. So basically, this is what it is, and this is what we are facing.
Indeed, there seems to be a fear of a global disruption. We see warning coming from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and of course the World Bank, also warning that about potential disruption due to the economic policy of Donald Trump. IMF also noted a wave of threatening tariff that could exacerbate trade tension, reduce investment, affect market pricing, distort trade flows, and of course, disrupt supply chains. How ready do you think, or how prepared do you think countries like Nigeria and of course the Middle East and the rest of Africa, how prepared are we to absorb these shocks?
The truth is that Donald Trump is a disruptor. And for those that knew him in the his first tenure, countries that are forward thinking, like I said, have already started planning when he won the election on the potential position he will take, which will be the furtherance of his initial policies, and maybe he's going to blow it more now that, like we have heard, and they have planned for it. For countries like Nigeria, like I said, is for us to wake up and realize that we need to upscale whatever it is we are doing, and to be more practical and pragmatic in our strategy, in our budgeting, in our execution. And also, we have to also review our foreign policy to align with this global reality, whether it is with the US or with other countries. But then more importantly, Yusuf, the biggest loser at the end of the day, the ultimate loser will be the United States of America. There's an adage in Hausa that says, "Sarikin yawa ya fi sarkin karfi," that the multitude of multiple are more stronger than the individual powerful. What I'm saying is that you can't take up the world and think within 2 to 3 years you are going to, direct the entire affairs of the world. It's not going to happen. We are living in the 21st century. We are experiencing fourth revolutions and all that, industrial revolution and all that. So, but at the end of the day, there will be disruptions, definitely, global disruptions. The influence of US in many things. You heard him opting out of World Trade Organization, opting out of the World Health Organization, definitely stepping away from the climate change. So there will be disruptions, in trade, in investment, in supply chain, with the concomitant effect on inflation. But the biggest bang inflation will be.
Okay, we seem to be having a network issue there with Malam Baba Yusuf. We hope we reconnect with him back to complete his thought there. We're still talking about the Donald Trump inauguration yesterday, and of course his economic policy of saying that he's going to tax foreign nations to enrich the American citizens. Of course, there's also a lot of fear and warnings that Donald Trump is disruptive.
Hello?
And of course, the effect, the World Bank is issuing warning, the IMF is issuing warning that the Donald Trump coming on board as the president of America is going to, we're going to see a threatening a tariff that will exacerbate trade tensions. We're going to see a reduced investment. We're going to see the effect of market pricing. We're going to distort trading inflows, and of course, they disrupt supply chains there.
Hello, Yusuf.
Baba Yusuf is back online.
I'm back.
Baba Yusuf.
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
I'm
Let's
back.
quickly look at how Nigeria can learn from Trump policy, his American first policy. While he is planning on how to tax foreign nations to enrich the American citizens, in Nigeria here, the government is taxing the citizen. I'm sure you are aware of the new tariff for telcos that is taking effect already, 50% increase from according to NCC announcement yesterday. What should we learn from Trump, American first agenda?
Okay, real quick, I have a couple of minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. First of all, let me land on the other conversation before it went off. So basically, the migration policy, chasing out the migrants out of America, will ease out cheap labor out of America, which will increase wage bill. And I don't know how the manufacturing sector will kick in within 12 calendar months or 2 years. So essentially, the tariffs that will be hiked by America will be countered by the productive sector of the world, which is China, India, and other countries. And we know that US is the biggest consumer of Chinese and Indian, with Apple and other producing in China. So basically, at the end of the day, there will be a backlash on America. Now, looking at the America First policy, I am a believer that we should also have Nigeria First policy and look inwards and be more creative with regards to the increase in tariff with the telco. Even though I will excuse them because it has been almost 12 years since they increased the tariff. And the increase in tariff for the telco is a reflection of other economic variables that we have not been able to manage due to the removal of fuel subsidy and others. But that being said, the overall, overarching strategy of the administration needs to be reviewed, because these are the ripple concomitant effect. But like you said, more importantly, in terms of foreign policy, Nigeria should also borrow a leaf about Nigeria first. We don't have to tax or tariff our friends, but we should look inward at what is more important for Nigeria before we look outward. This big brother attitude we have that has never given us value should be tarried for a while until we put our acts together in the country for us to move forward and be more respected and get more value from our contributions on the global platform.
Indeed, Baba Yusuf, a lot to talk about, but time is always short. We hope we'll bring you back for us to discuss this policy. I must thank you for your contribution on the show today. Malam Baba Yusuf is a strategist, policy advisor, and of course, Group CEO of Global Investment and Trading Company, speaking to me all the way from Abuja. I must thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go on a very quick break now. When we return, we'll continue along the same discussion. And of course, I'll have my other guests joining me for further discussion. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. There is the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. And of course, we are talking Trump inauguration and its impact on Africa and indeed Nigeria in particular. Of course, there are some key takeaways from his speech yesterday. Apart from saying that he was going to tax foreign nations to enrich the Americans, there's also the talk about the golden age of America begins right now. As part of the highlight of his speech, he is also talking about a rail against U.S. decline. He is, according to him, the America was in decline under his predecessor, so that he is coming in to take America back to the glory days. According to him, he's also talked about the assassination attempt on his life as well. Also, there's also executive actions on immigration, energy and trade, the one that the rest of the world is beginning to panic. We see that affecting the global oil market today as well. We also talk about the Gulf of Mexico, of course, the Denali and the Panama Canal there. He's also planning on how to strengthen the borders along that region there as well. There's also the issues around the U.S. flag and, of course, the mass as well. I have joining me now another guest, Aliyu Ilyas. Aliyu Ilyas joins me via virtually from Abuja here. He's an economist. Good morning, Mal Aliyu.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right. I'm sure you probably would have, saw some excerpts from Donald Trump's speech yesterday at the inauguration ceremony. What do you make of what he said, especially? Let me get your take about his plan to tax foreign nations and enriching the Americans.
It was quite interesting, and I'm hearing that for the first time. There will be external revenue office for America now. I think you recall that Trump said he's American first, and he said he will do everything to improve the welfare of citizens of America. So I think it's a good one that one is coming new. Everybody will start taking in that direction. But for me, I think Trump is much more concerned about America. But life is so funny. You cannot live as an island in the whole world. So Trump must rethink that he cannot only live in this world. He needs to deal with others as it's supposed to be. So for me, I think it's a welcome idea from him, but he should remember that people also reciprocate what's actually saying to him as well.
For countries like Nigeria, who is a strong ally of United States of America, and of course some other African countries as well, the Middle East, talking about the likes of Saudi Arabia, is also a strong ally of America. What do you think this Trump presidency portend for countries like that rely so much on crude oil? And as you know, Trump is not a fan of high energy prices.
Right. Well, if you look at energy crisis, it's a serious area that Africa, Nigeria, and the whole world need to look at. But you should remember that even America is not part of OPEC, but they are producer of crude oil and exporter as well. So the thing is that Trump policy would definitely affect OPEC, and in the long run, it will also affect Nigeria. But thanks to God, I should say, because Nigeria now have a better, what do I call it, shock absorber in the business of Dangote refining and petrochemical. So now we can have that absorber simply because now we are now producing, if at all, majority is produced by private sector, and we are now exporting, which is a good one. So I think we will not feel it that much if we can ramp up our own efforts locally to make sure that we support what Dangote is doing, and our refinery, the two has come on board. You should also recall that Bua is also coming up with refinery, and with some modular refinery. I think we can actually do well if we can really manage it very well. And when we talk about other countries like Saudi and other allies of America, everybody understands Trump, that his style of governance is like that. But the beauty is that it is still 4 years. After 4 years, you'll be out of the race.
Absolutely, it's just 4 years. It's, no matter how hard you try, he will not exceed that 4 years there in power now. So what do you think now that we should do as Africa and as Nigeria for us to be able to be well positioned for the 4 years of disruption? You know, as you know, Trump is a disruptor. For the 4 years of disruption that Donald Trump is going to create.
Yes, Yusuf, I will remind you that, have you forgotten that recently we have just joined BRICS as a partner? I see that as a strategic move as well, to actually, if at all, Trump might not be very okay with that, but it's also an alternative for us. Remember that we have G7, and Nigeria is not part of G7. So if we can join BRICS, that means we have an alternative that we can always fall back on. And I can tell you, we can benefit more even from G7 in terms of agriculture, manufacturing, technology, even oil exportation and exploration. We can get more from that part. I think we should be ready for the challenge. For me, it's a good challenge, and I love it because it will make Nigeria to go back, sit tight, and redesign our focus so as to better the welfare of Nigeria citizens.
Talking about our budget for 2025, the crude oil benchmark there is $75 per barrel. And of course, as of today, we are still within that range, $79 per barrel currently. But do you think this can be sustained given the fact that Donald Trump, like I mentioned earlier, is going to pump in more shale gas into the market that will crash the global oil prices?
Well, that is actually expected. I see Donald Trump disrupting a lot of things, but Nigeria today, I think we need to work beyond our monetary policy, fiscal policy, and also work on our trade policy. So if we can work on our trade policy, we can actually use that to actually fit for this. However, I think the benchmark put by the Tinubu administration is because of what they're actually seeing, and it was a forecast of what is going to actually come. I think it's not bad. The only thing is that we must also make sure that our end is better. You will also recall that the Tinubu administration have done well in terms of oil exploration. You recall that we are now doing beyond the usual, is it 1.5, 1.6 to about 1.8, and we are targeting 2 million barrels per day. So I think we are also doing. The thing is that we must be careful about trade policy. We must look at other trade partners, especially in the BRICS area, to actually trade with at this point in time.
You're talking about BRICS. We were invited by Brazil as a partner country, not like we're already officially a member of the BRICS. How much of impact do you think we can have on BRICS? You know, BRICS is made up of 5 countries of Brazil. You have Russia, you have India, you have China, and of course you have South Africa. These are the 5 countries that makes up BRICS. And for a very long time, I know many countries have applied to join BRICS, but many of them have not really been given the green light to join. But Nigeria has been invited as partner, like you rightly acknowledge. How much of impact, how much of contribution do you think we can make? And of course, how much of value do you think we can get from some of these BRICS nations?
I think BRICS have actually opened up. They have admitted about 5 other countries: UAE, Ethiopia, I think Egypt, and other. They now have 9 partners. So they have like original 11 members and about 9 partners. So now what I think we should do on our part is to establish our own comparative advantage. You know, when we say comparative advantage, what do you have advantage on that you can actually export that these people actually need? And that's how business should be. Everybody should take advantage of what the country actually have. So for me, we have a lot to benefit from BRICS. In fact, in terms of security, I can also tell you they can also do more because they like China the like of Russia can do more in terms of technology. Then in terms of availability of funds, we now have alternative in terms of source of funding. We may choose not to look at IMF and Bretton Woods, so to say, and look at other source of funding. You can also look at other source of technology, because you know all these people, especially China, Indian, are also good in terms of technology. We can also look at manufacturing. When you talk about manufacturing globally, you cannot reduce China. In fact, surprisingly, China is the country that we traded most with as at 2024. So there's a lot of opportunity there in aligning with BRICS.
A lot of opportunity aligning with BRICS, but what are we bringing to the table? There's Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that we've signed. Of course, that has not really taken off proper. There is Nigeria contribution, despite the fact that we played a major role in bringing that organization, association to be. Our contribution has remained very, very meager. What are we bringing to the table as partners with BRICS?
Well, I think from what you said about free trade area that we after that we actually embarked on, from the conception of that idea, some of us make it clear to Nigeria that just like what South Africa did, South Africa did not ratify a lot of those things because South Africa believe that they are better in the economy. Why should they allow their country to anything to be done? So some of us actually advised the Nigerian government then that no, you can't just say everything should come into your country. You can select. Like Nigeria can produce shoe and bags. Don't allow them to bring that to your country. Nigeria is good in textile. If at all we can bring back those people in the textile company. These are if one thing you can do. Don't allow people to, because it will kill your infant industry in Nigeria. So for me, I think dealing with BRICS now, BRICS actually need our oil. They need our agricultural produce. If you can make sure that we increase our produce. They also need some of our manufacturing. If you can look at comparative advantage and what we can manufacture in Nigeria, and that's why we must tap all our value chain and gain exportation. Recall, we should not look BRICS from the point of those developed countries among them like China and Russia. They also have small countries that we can also send which is very, very important. And I think with our refined petroleum and chemical now, that export a lot to most of those countries in BRICS.
All right, let's stay talking about Donald Trump that took office yesterday. I know we digress a bit there to talk about the issue around BRICS there, because you mentioned it in the course of the analysis. Donald Trump has come in, and of course we know what is going to happen. There is war in the Middle East, which is gradually coming to an end with the signing of a truce between Israel and Palestine. There is also war in between Russia and Ukraine as well. All these wars have had a lot of impact on the global oil price. But Trump has made it very clear that America is going to end all wars and, of course, create peace all over the world there. How much of impact do you think this ending this war will have on global trade?
Seem to be
Now, seems to be having a connection there with regards to the internet with Aliu Elias there. We hope he reconnect with us back. We're talking about Donald Trump inauguration and some of the executive action that is taking on immigration, issues around energy, and of course trade as well. And Donald Trump made a very categorical statement yesterday that in America they will only recognize two genders, male and female. So what it means that under Donald Trump, homosexual or lesbianism, or what many people call gay, is of course criminalized under Donald Trump. There, he made that categorical statement yesterday there as well. He also talked about the issue around Mexico. There, he talked about confirming that he will change the name of Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That's some categorical statement he said yesterday. He also said that Denali, the highest mountain peak in North America, will be renamed Mount McKinley. He also talked about that yesterday. I have Aliu Elias back now. Aliu Elias, before we had that technical issues, we were making some points.
Right. I was discussing about Trump. That because I the first Trump, he was globally convinced that he was to find the truth. It is worrying that people that are starting like Ukraine, Russia, war, Trump can do something.
All right, we seem to be having a lot with the internet there. We hope we get Ali Elias back to wrap up the program. I was talking about Donald Trump policies as he did read them out yesterday. He talked about the U.S. Recognizing the mountain as Mount McKinley, named for President William McKinley in 1917. And of course, in 2015, under the Obama government, it was restored to Denali, the traditional native Alaskan name there, of course. But now Donald Trump is going to rename that as well, according to him. Of course, in terms of the global trade, there is quite going to be a lot of disruption. We've seen a lot of apprehension already. Countries like China, which is one of the largest consumer of petroleum product, is beginning to trade with caution with the Donald Trump coming on board. Of course, Donald Trump also said yesterday that he was going to meet with President Vladimir Putin of Russia as well, but he did not give the date and the timeline for that meeting, but he did mention that he was going to speak to Vladimir Putin. And we know the relationship between America and Russia is like cat and rat relationship. We see how Donald Trump is going to restore that, and of course maybe probably negotiate on how to end the Ukraine and Russia war that has had a lot of impact on global trade, because as you know, Ukraine is one of the largest producer of wheat in the country. Even in Nigeria, when that war started, we also feel the impact of that war, because most of the wheat we consume in this part of the world are being imported from countries like Ukraine and some neighboring countries around that area there as well. So we were hoping that a lot is going to change with Donald Trump coming on board. Of course, another very critical statement he also made was the fact that TikTok is no longer going to be banned. But as you know, before he came on board, there was plan to ban TikTok in America, and we saw a lot of American children crying online because many of them depend on TikTok as their means of livelihood. And in terms of revenue contributions, a lot of them contributed so much to TikTok in terms of revenue. But Donald Trump came and saved them yesterday. That look, TikTok is no longer going to be banned in America. So those who rely on TikTok as their means of survival will continue to make money through TikTok in America. We also saw an unusual appearance yesterday by Elon Musk. Elon Musk is one of a very close friend of Donald Trump. He was at the inauguration yesterday, and he did also made some statement there yesterday, of course, as well. Elon Musk is the owner of X, the former Twitter, there as well. It's one of the biggest, there as well. So quite a whole lot of businesses looking up to Trump, the like of Mark Zuckerberg, of course, who is the owner of Facebook. Is also the Larry Page, the man that controls Google. They're all people that are close allies of Donald Trump. Talk about the like of Jeff as well, as well. So these are all the people that will indeed be looking up to the new policies of Donald Trump, which, as we know, we've been talking about it, is American first. And of course, we hope that countries like Nigeria will also learn these American first policies. As why Trump is planning to cut tax for Americans, throwing the burden to foreign nations, Nigerian government is taxing the citizens so much that a lot of people are saying that we're being taxed more than what we can actually take. We hope that government will learn from this and see how they can ease the burden on Nigeria. There's a lot to learn from Donald Trump government there as he begin his government yesterday in America. He's going to be there for the next 4 years. He has spent his first 4 years. He lost out in the last election, and of course he made a very strong return and is back again as the the leader, one of the global leader. You cannot rule out America when it's come to global politics. They are the leader, and Trump is here again with his policies. And that's the much we can take on Business Daily today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.